We're going to touch on a couple things in this session. Like I said, the importance of the session is how to make money. Everyone wants to not just have fun building the apps. We're probably all geeks, so it is fun building stuff. But the cool thing about phone is you can have your full-time job and make some money on the side, as opposed to you can kind of do that with websites, as projects. But a phone app is really one of those things where you can turn a hobby into making some money. So we're going to talk, we only got 30 minutes here. We're going to talk about kind of three different things. We're going to talk about some aesthetic things you should do. We're going to talk about advertising, and then we're going to talk about tools type stuff. So it's kind of a dev version of how to make money. Now, I am absolutely, like probably most of you, how many out there would consider themselves a developer? Any designers out there? Okay, a couple designers. So you can just close your ears for a few minutes. So, as a developer, I've been a developer for 15 yada yada years, and I designed back-end systems mostly, right? The N-tier, object relational mappers, that the gunk that makes everything work, right? So when I design a page, it's usually gray and has square buttons on it, right? So I feel your pain. But icons, screenshots are important. And this may seem like the silliest thing, but think about it. Think about how much money is spent on packaging on everything you buy. From the water bottles, why do most people pick certain water bottles? Because of the shape or maybe the size, right? A lot of thought goes into that. Perfume boxes, whatever it is, a lot of time goes into branding that package. And you have to do the same thing. There are apps out there that there's multiple apps. And if you have this flat, ugly, whatever, and again, I feel your pain. I'm not a designer. Icon, they're going to pick the flashier icon. It doesn't necessarily mean that the app works better, right? It's what do I see on the forefront. So spend time on your icons. There's stuff you can do. You don't have to be the greatest designer. There's free tools. I think Kenny mentioned paint.net that I use. It's a really great tool. Spend some time because that's the first thing people are going to see. You can see some images here. I think you saw this earlier in Brandon's presentation on some that out there. And they jump out at you. I have icons up here, but screenshots too. Because how many of you, a few of you have Windows Phone. It actually doesn't matter platforms. When you go in and see if you want to buy the app, you always look at the screenshots, right? Always. So if you have a great icon and your screenshots are horrible, same thing. Make sure you make really nice screenshots. You want to get them to download your app. Whether it's a free app or a paid app, the goal is to get them to download it. Live tiles. We had a great session on live tiles today. This I've been talking about for a long time, ever since the phone came out. This is a key differentiator on our platform. Plus, it's a key way for you to talk to your users when they're not in your apps. So think about it. If you have an app-based application, or an advertising-based application, what do you want? You want them to go in your app more. How do you do that? Not only having a cool app, right, but reminding them again and again why they like your app. So, a few things. One is put information out there that will entice them to go in without putting too much information. If you give them everything they need to know on that tile, they're never going to go in your app. Think of Twitter apps. Twitter apps will usually on the live tile, they'll put how many direct messages you have and how many at replies you have. And that goes, oh, I have some, I'm going to go into the app. You want to do that, you want to drive it. And the beautiful part, like we talked on earlier, is this was difficult before. Because you had two options. You had build this whole service, deal with the push notification service, all that stuff. Or, there's a scheduled tile thing before. That was a lot of work. With the new way to do it, and I have some really simple code if you're coming tomorrow to show you. You can do it on the phone, change the stuff on the fly, really easy. Like Brandon said earlier, I gravitate towards apps, and I think a lot of people do, that give me a live tile that does something. At the very least, even if I like an app, I'm not pinning it to my front page, which is the prime real estate you want. if that live tile is not doing anything. I'm saving that real estate for stuff that's going to show me stuff. So icons, make sure you do it. Live tiles. App Connect. Now, he showed this screen. I don't think it got through completely to everyone. I think it sometimes takes a while. So I'm going to show you exactly what I mean on a real phone. So I would love to show you. There's so much stuff I can show you on the phone. I'm just going to show you App Connect. So this is nothing new. I'm going to hit the search button, and it's going to go to Bing. And I'm going to search for, they do this in every single demo you've ever seen. I'm going to search for sushi, right? Which is great. This is not new. So local search, fantastic, because it knows you're not searching for doing a book report or something, right? It figures, I want to know what's going on, so movies, all that stuff is here. So I find a sushi place. This isn't new, pre-Mango. This was all here before. This is the important thing, and I really want to drive this home. These pivots have, you can find the address, all that stuff. You can find reviews. This pivot, App Connect, is your money maker. So there's different categories. I'm going to do a session on how to do this tomorrow, but let me tell you how simple it is. It's changing your manifest file and having an XML file in your app to show up here. The key point, and I'll back up slightly. So I was looking for a place. So it brought up appropriate applications for that category. Some food ones, some place ones, like Foursquare. The key thing here is if you look at the screen, it's not just bringing up apps I have, is it? So there's two cool things here. One's for the consumer. Instead of me going somewhere searching and then having to go back to the app, we're bringing the apps to them. And two, your app is surfacing where they want it. So they don't even know it exists until they search for sushi. You can go to one of these and find travel, whatever it is. There's different categories. Make sure you put this in your app because it's going to drive more people to download your app. The category's got to make sense. If you sign up for every category, you know what? We're going to yank it out of Marketplace, right? So the category's got to make sense. Okay. Hopefully the live version of that drove that home a little better. The last part, review, review, review. There is another part of your applications. I always, when I look at an application, I look at not only the star ratings, but how many people have reviewed it, right? But I'm lazy. I don't review my apps, right? How many of you actually ever review an app? Right, see? So what you want to do is there's an API for this, and the smart applications are doing this. You have to create a good app that people are going to review nicely, right, first. But there's an API that you can pop up a window after so many days. You determine the logic, right? Say, you haven't reviewed this app. Would you like to review it? It will launch the marketplace to allow them to review the app. You want to do that. But, yeah, I respond to those as well. What's that? Okay, yeah, that's a good point. Two things. Games, be careful, because you don't want to go in front of something. So you have to do it in the appropriate place, maybe when the main menu comes up. And this is important too. Don't annoy them. So the ones that do it correctly have a little checkbox that says, never show me this again, right? So you want to get it out in front of them. You want to be polite. You don't want to annoy them. So make sure they have the ability to review it. I mean, they have the innate ability to review it. Make sure you offer it to them again and again, because the more reviews you have, the more stars you have, the better it sells.
Got a question?
Sure.
Is there a way to give them like a rating system where they just give you a star right there? They don't have to go to another place to go enter that stuff?
So the question was, is there a way to do the rating system internally in your app so they don't have to go somewhere else? No. So they have to go to the marketplace. But it's like all the other launchers and choosers, and I don't think we covered launchers and choosers today, but it launches, it goes to the API, and it'll come back to your app when it's done doing that. So hopefully that's a good middle ground. So let's talk about marketplace. So we had a good mix earlier of people that have been developers on other platforms, people that have never developed again. So these are things I want to cover. So getting applications on the phone. You cannot sideload, right? I think everyone understands that. On this version of the phone, you cannot sideload an application. So there's a couple ways. Most people will get an application on the phone by downloading it from the marketplace. Right? That's the only way you can get it on, unless you're a developer. If you're a developer, you can load applications on the phone after you unlock it. To be able to unlock it, you have to have a marketplace account. The third one's actually new, and you can have it, on the second one I should say, up to 10 applications on your device. So I'm always doing demos and everything else, and I'm always having to remove them because I can only have 10 non-marketplace applications on a phone. And I think I have a slide that goes in that a little bit more next, so I'll save something there. The third one is new, brand new. It's a beta marketplace. So you're able to load up to 100 names of people that you want to use as a beta for your application. Only they can sign up. You get their live IDs. They're the only ones that can actually download it. It's a limited time. They can use it for 90 days. So that was something that was asked for. We came out with Mango. And it's a great advancement. And one of the things that I want to talk about in that is kind of a side shoot, but there's actually two of them, whether you're a developer or consumer. It's called Suggestion Box. And we'll put the link up later. And the Suggestion Box is a great place for you to get what you want next on the phone. Because everyone has their certain, this is what I would like the phone to do. But what you want to try and do is get the collective, what's the most thing people want. The beta marketplace is one of those things. People said, this is what I want. So I think it's WPDev, uservoice.com is the developer. And I think it's Windows Phone. I'll make sure usersvoice.com is for that. And you could either respond to something or someone already else put up there, or you can put your new one and have other people say, hey, I want this too. They listen to that. What's that? Yeah, that's a great idea. By tomorrow. So who's going to build that tomorrow? That's a great idea for an app. So, okay. This just came out too, and I love this. This goes not only for the consumer side, but for the developer side too. Discoverability. So we had the Bing visual search before, and you had Zune, or the phone to find applications, right? And people wanted more. So this just came out. This is the web marketplace. And it does what you'd expect it to do. So it's web-based. You can do a search for apps. You can see the screenshots, all that stuff. And you can over-the-air install the apps from the web marketplace. So it's a very simple three-step process. Download the app. There's limitations for the size, the same ones that have existed before. It's got to be under 20 megabytes for it to be over-the-air. But that was the same as we've had before. You got to plug it in for anything over that, which is important for you guys developing your applications. Not sure if I'm going to cover this on another slide, but you want to try your hardest to make sure that you have it under 20 megabytes because you'll lose people if they have to plug it in or if they have to do it under Wi-Fi. Now, some games, obviously, with all the stuff Kenny showed you and all the resources you need, people expect that. But for applications, they want to get it and they want to get it now. They don't want to have to plug in and they want to go on Wi-Fi. So keep that number in mind, 20 megabytes. So a couple ways to join. A developer account is $99 a year. And you have 100 free apps. This used to be limited to, I believe, 5 free apps in the marketplace, which was done for a reason. One of the things we're trying to balance is quality apps, right? Not just a ton of free apps that do nothing, right? So we had initially set it to 5 per account to make sure that it's not just being flooded. And if you guys have phones on our platform or any other platforms, you know what I'm talking about. They raised it to 100, which is really nice. And you have an unlimited amount of paid apps you can put in there. If you want additional paid apps, it's $20. I think it's $19.99 for additional paid. I'm sorry, I should change the slide. Additional free apps. That's pretty confusing, isn't it? Just making sure you guys are awake. That was my point here. If you're a student, whether you're going to college full-time or whether you're taking classes at a community college, we have a DreamSpark program that makes it free. Now, I'll stop right here to point out one of the reasons And for people online, I will point this out as well. One of the reasons I paraded people up on stage all day today is people are always asking, the other part is, what? How do I get a what? Did you say life? I've been up here for 10 minutes and she's already... I heard it over here. How do I get a phone? Right? We are the people that have the phones. The developer evangelists, the guys we've been parading up here all day, these are the guys that have the phones. Do we have an unlimited supply? No. And online, find your developer evangelist. In your area, they have them as well. We have them for people developing apps and putting them in Marketplace. It's a discussion you have. It's first come, first served type of basis. But that's why I was introducing these people. Because they can help you with sometimes for different stuff, Marketplace tokens, sometimes for phones. And again, the phones are to help people to debug their apps before they put it in the Marketplace. So we have loaner programs and programs where we give people phones that are developing apps to help them debug. So make sure you connect. So you guys weren't going to say hi to them earlier, but now that you know that, you're looking around the room going, hey, where'd they go? Where'd they go? Yeah, exactly. So there's a couple different ways. Obviously, you can have free apps or you can have paid apps. We already talked about that. We have something that is really great. It's for trial apps. It's a try versus buy API. How many of you know how to do an if statement or a switch statement? That's it. So you decide. So it's a trial API that looks at the license. If it's trial, show them this game level. If it's trial, they can... I'm going to save the date and they can use it for this many days. If it's trial, whatever. You determine, how your trial is set up. They can only view this menu. It's really simple, and the best part is it's integrated into the Marketplace. On top of that, studies show that if you give people the ability to see if they like your product before they buy it, they're more likely to try it and then buy it. Your conversion rate's pretty good. So you have the ability to do that, and it's really simple for developers. So submission process. I get questions about this all the time. How many of you have submitted an app for the Marketplace? Pretty easy process? Yeah, pretty quick too, right? I mean, there's sometimes rejections that maybe take it longer, but one of the things we've done is made that easier. So there's 3 different pillars: technical validation, policy validation, and market validation. All of these types of validations are in documents up on the site. So there's no surprises as to why something got rejected. I'm not going to go deep into each of these, but I want to kind of go through the process. I think Kenny had something up here earlier on this process. I want to touch on a couple things. So when you use Visual Studio to create your project, you're going to create a ZAP file, which is a glorified zip file. It goes into your bin directory, right? You want to, again, make sure it's under 20 megabytes if you want it over the air. And it's got to be at least less than 500 megabytes. You can't have any app that's over that. You're going to go up to the site, and you're going to load up different stuff. You're going to load up your icons. You're going to load up your screenshots. You're going to, the description of it, all that stuff, and it's going to put it together. Once you send it through, it's going to check a bunch of stuff. So it's going to check to see if you're using managed code. Obviously, no native code in it. It's going to check to see different languages. It's going to check for capabilities. So in your manifest file, it has capabilities in there that says, this application looks for location. This application uses the phone dialer. This application, so on and so forth. They're there by default. If you're not using them, take them out. Because if you've bought an application on the phone, you notice before they buy the application, it says, this application uses location. Are you okay with that? So you don't want those in there if it doesn't. Plus, this is where it checks. If you have code that does location and you don't have that in your manifest file, it's not going to pass validation. So if it passes that, it repackages it all in one. It's then going to check to make sure it works, basically. Does it start up? There's specifications for usability, meaning people that use phones are impatient. They want stuff that happens right now, right? So you have to have the splash screen come up within 1 second, and then something where they can use user input or do something on the application within another 19. which means don't do any long-running processes, any long-running downloads, whatever, on your first page, or you'll fail validation. One of the things I want to talk about on this goes back to my first apps, icons, your splash screen. Again, I know you're developers. There's that default splash screen. It doesn't matter how cool, well, maybe it matters how cool your application is, but when that default splash screen comes up, it's just like, you know. It doesn't take anything to take your logo and put it over that clock, whatever it is. It takes 5 minutes to do it. Do a splash screen that will not seem like the default. Finally, if it passes all that, we're going to sign it, package it all together, and put it in the marketplace. The great part is just with the brand new tools. So if you've downloaded the beta tools for Mango, this is not in it. You have to download the RTM tools. We now have a tool to pre-test all the tests that are going to happen as best we can, obviously. So there's automatic tests that you'll run through here, and then manual tests. So it's a list of things that say, we're going to check for this. Did you do it? Did you check for this? We're going to do it. So this is built into Visual Studio. Yeah. It'll be built into Visual Studio. So the way it works is if you download the SDK, if you don't have Visual Studio, you get that standalone free Windows Phone application stuff. If you have Visual Studio, it puts it right into Visual Studio. Who's what? No, the marketplace is. So it's not happening locally. This is just to make it easier. This is to make it easier. They're saying, we're going to check these things. Make sure you check them before you send it in. So it makes the process even easier than it was before. And that's a fun picture of it. Advertising. So how many of you have free apps or are planning to do free apps? So I'll show this tomorrow in a session, and it'll be a 5-minute session. You download the SDK, you add it to your toolbox, you drag it onto the form, just like Kenny dragged a button on earlier, I think, and that's it. You go to the website and sign up, and it has an application ID and a pub ID. You pop those in there. You set categories, meaning what categories would people using my app be interested in, and you're done. It takes 5 minutes to add this stuff into your application. So if you have a free one, a free app, and you're going to make it ad-based, make sure you do this. I have location-based as well. So some best practices. We're getting a little low on time, and we can talk more about this tomorrow, but some of the best practices is if you're already collecting location stuff from your phone, from your users, you want to use that in advertising because location-based advertising will pay more, right? The more information advertisers have about your users, the better rates and stuff you'll have. And we can go deeper into that type of stuff, and I can connect you with people that know even more. I'm obviously a developer. But make sure you're using every part of this. What kind of payback can you expect? That's an open-ended question that I don't want to have up here. We can talk about apps because it's CPM, right? So how many times are they actually seeing your app? So how many times are they going in your app? Where are you placing the ads on your app? What categories did you set up? All that type of stuff. I have some links I can show you of people that have done very well, and the things they've done to do very well in their apps is probably the best on a stage like this that I can answer that question. But we can have an offline discussion about best practices and stuff. Does that answer it enough? Okay. This is the Pub Center where you sign up. And I think that is all I have. So from what I covered, what questions do you guys have? When can you get a phone? I have no idea what you're talking about. So again, to answer the question on when you can get a phone, talk to your local developer evangelist. That's what they're here for. Yes?
Actually, I have on one of your slides, you mentioned Restart. I think it might be for people that are in here, it might be good to say something about Restart, which is funding all of my software.
Thank you. I did not pay him. So this works well because BizSpark is a program that we have for startups. So it's very simple. Just do a search for BizSpark. You can get all the details. But very simply, you have to not have been in business for 3 years. You have to not be making more than $1 million. Do any of you guys qualify for that? And you got to have a product, basically. You can't be a staffing service. It's for you guys developing product. Building a phone app is that. And we give you a ton of software. So you have SharePoint, you have server licenses, you have like 25 cals of Visual Studio, a ton of stuff to help startups build applications. So, and we can talk about that more. Thanks for prompting that up. So what we're going to do is actually first say goodbye to the people online. We thank you for joining us. We had a great day today, and we'll see you guys soon. So thank you very much.